That's a place that is legitimately allows you to show up. So what are some basic things that you can do to make your LinkedIn profile stand out, right? This is from LinkedIn's annual report that I recently read. Add relevant skills, right? Just adding 5 relevant skills for your to your profile increases your visibility by 31x, right? It increases the visibility by 31 times. So like every role that you have done, add relevant skills, right? Add a headline with clarity, right? It should speak to your expertise and it should indicate your purpose. Add the relevant coursework. If you're a fresh graduate, add relevant coursework. If you have done some certifications, add that. If you're a network engineer, it's probably CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE. If you're a software engineer, it's probably relevant coursework is some data structures, right? Add awards, add awards, add the volunteering efforts you've done, add publications that you've written. It could be a best TA award, a best paper award. If you've topped, if you've been summa cum laude at your university, add that. If you won some scholarships, add that. If you've won some grants, add that. Right? This is a place where you show your all-round personality, and you should never let an opportunity go to show off every quality you have. So, for example, I was pursuing a career in patent law, so I did a small course on patent law. So from the University of Pennsylvania on Coursera. So I did make sure I added it, right? Similarly, I had a bunch of awards that I'd won during my PhD. And again, I show that here. It's all part of my LinkedIn profile. So go ahead and put in all of these things, make the effort to write a very good LinkedIn profile. Also, whatever you've written in your resume, you can copy paste it to LinkedIn to a great extent for each of those roles, right? So once you have these things ready, okay, this is the most important part of today's session, right? If there is one thing I want everyone here to take home, it is to network shamelessly and to network smartly, right? Um, Everybody has their resume ready, their cover letter ready, and their LinkedIn profile ready. And then the very next step that people take uh, turns out to be the most disastrous step, which is basically go ahead and start applying to 300 jobs, 400 jobs, 500 jobs on LinkedIn, Indeed, and other job websites and wait, right? Wait endlessly for days on end, hoping somebody looks at your resume at some point of time and calls you for an interview. And turns out the most, again, I have met some of the smartest minds, the most intelligent kids and students and mid-career professionals, all of whom real are doing nothing but waiting. And that's the most agitating part of the entire job hunting process. Turns out that's the worst thing that we could do. And that's the worst advice that's available in the market at the moment. So what's the right thing to do? Stop applying. It's going to do mostly no good, right? Why do I say that? Okay, I applied to about 131 jobs during my PhD when I was finishing up my PhD, and I got 6 interview calls. And what I realized was I was aware of all of this knowledge, and yet I was afraid to implement it, right? I got 6 interview calls. 5 of them had nothing to do with the 131 job applications that I applied, right? And it had everything to do with this one trick that I always did. So, without giving more of an introduction, I'll directly jump into what exactly you have to do. Right? Find the dream role that you actually want to work for, right? Target your dream role. Let's say it's a software engineer at Google, right? Now, pull up LinkedIn, go to the Google's homepage, find people who work at Google, and look for software engineers on that LinkedIn page who work at Google, right? Now, write them a simple message, right? Saying you are a, a student or you are a mid-career professional who is who's looking for exploring career options for working as a software engineer at Google, and that you would want to learn from their experience, right? And then ask them to connect with you. And once they connect with you, ask them if they could provide 20 minutes of their time to have a conversation where you have a bunch of specific questions to ask. Now, this is the most crucial part, right? There is a course by Barbara Bruno, which is available on LinkedIn, which is called Informational Interviewing. It's about a 50-minute course. It's a fantastic course for people who are interested. Go ahead and do that course, and you'll get a sense of what kind of a conversation that you need to have with people when you connect like this, right? So you basically start having a very simple conversation around how they landed the role that they are presently working at, and uh, what are the important parts of the job, how do they manage their workload, and what is it necessary for somebody like you to transition into that role, and stuff like that. Now what happens is, when you have a genuine conversation with people, it kinds of it is the beginning of a new relationship. And once you have a relationship, it goes a long way in helping you get your resume noticed. Now, what is it that you should never do in an informational interview, right? When I say informational interview, you should never ask for a job. You should never talk more, never give information about yourself unnecessarily. But it's a place for you to listen and learn from somebody who's already been there and done it, right? You learn how to approach or what is necessary to become a software engineer to become a QA engineer, to become a customer success engineer, right? So you learn from their experience, thank them for their time, and build a relationship. Now, once that happens, take the feedback, whatever they have given, go back to your resume, up, change it, and if they offer to review your resume, ask them for their reviews, take the feedback again, and iterate this process, right? Now, give it a few days, send them a thank you note, give it a few days. If you find a role that is uh, available, let's say Google posts a new job role for a software engineer, go back to them and see if they're willing to do an introduction, right? Now, then this is all a numbers game, right? How does this work? If I send out a connection request to about 100 people, roughly about 30 to 40% of people respond well. So the idea is to repeat this at least 200 times. Now, ideally, you don't need that. You don't need that, right? But when you do this for 200 people, you will basically have created so many chance events along the way. You just don't know how things will fall in place. The first thing is everybody you talk to will have a name to a face. So all the people who have actually seen you and met with you now know who is Amit Narayan, who is, and if the resume passes by their desk, once you apply for the role, they can recognize you by name, right? The second thing is if somebody within the company puts your resume to the team, forwards your resume to the team, there is a higher chance that you get called for an interview. So keep doing. The, an advanced trick in this scenario is actually to start sending out these messages to managers, directors, vice presidents. I have seen this work so flawlessly all along that it's almost a no-brainer at this point. That I'll give you a fun story. When I joined ORNL, I my wife wanted to move here, and she was wanting to find a job in the area, right? All that she did was she did not have the patience to wait around. She wrote a mail to the director of the ORNL lab saying, "My husband works there. I'm interested in working here. Is there something? Is there a job that I can do here? And I'm very good network engineer and stuff like that." Right? She directly wrote it to the director of the um, lab. The very next day, she got an interview call from the network engineering team at ORNL, right? So it didn't pan out because of visa reasons, but she did clear the interview and get an offer. So the story is the higher the authority you reach out to and build a relationship, uh, it's a great way to actually uh, find a job, right? Once they forward your resume to the appropriate hiring team, it never gets rejected. It never gets, it'll definitely give you an interview call. It's up to you after that what you do with the interview, right? So uh, the most important thing is don't ask for a job upfront. Have a conversation, build a relationship, and keep doing this 100 times, right? So I always say this about job hunting. If you make job hunting an event, it becomes extremely stressful. Make it a process, and you'll enjoy it. You'll end up meeting some amazing people through these conversations, learn from their life experiences. It's a fantastic experience. And the next part is acing the interview, right? So there is so much to talk about acing the interview. It's not just one thing, but I'll start by a very simple question, and then I'll give you tools to basically go ahead and do your research on your own, right? So the simplest question that almost every interview starts with is, "Tell me about yourself." And I have seen, again, thousands of times, I've seen hundreds of times actually, that people completely handle this question wrong and make this an interview that is boring and not so lively, right? So what happens is, the whole point of this question again is, it's an icebreaker question. Nobody knows each other at that point of time, so they're trying to get to know you, and everybody's trying to ease in into the interview, right? It also tells something else to the employer. It's an unstructured question, and they want to see how you actually handle an unstructured question. And the easiest way to do that is using the she formula, right? Basically, that says, be succinct, be honest, and be engaging, right? Now, if if somebody asks you, like, tell me about yourself, so again, the worst thing to do is go through your entire chronological order of where you were born or what happened, when you did your bachelor's, when you did your master's, and when you did your PhD or whatever, right? The most important thing to do is, okay, what's the job role? What's the job role you're applying for? What's the job that you're applying for? Find a story from your life, find an incident from your life that inspired you to pursue this job, right? And then, using that incident, build a narrative, weave personality into it, and go ahead and tell a story that makes it so relevant to the actual job role, that when you do that, that opens up the entire interview, and you're in front seat, in full control of how the interview is going to go from there, right? It's from there, it's pretty much like you control the questions, because you set up a curiosity hook in the very first question. They want to know more. If you do it right, they'll keep asking you questions in the way that you lead them to. Apart from the fact that there will be technical questions, the behavioral questions are uh, great fun when you do it this way, right? That is where they get to know you as a person rather than some random resume. So there's so much to deal with on this interview process. But what I would say is, there's free stuff on LinkedIn again. LinkedIn is a goldmine for all of this. So if you go to the job section in LinkedIn, there is interview prep questions, and there are like 15, 20 questions there. Go through all of that, and it's all free for everyone. And you'll basically get access to all these questions. You can even practice answers to these questions uh, on the website, and you can record the video and ask for feedback from friends, right? If somebody's interested, go ahead and do it and send it to me for feedback, and I can help you out with, if you have a good tell me about yourself question, right? So I wouldn't bore you with more details, but yeah, please go ahead and check those out. These are all free resources. You don't have to spend any money for any of this. And finally, let's say you have reached a situation where, if you do all of these things right, finding a job offer is not that difficult, right? So, and once you reach a point where you have a job offer, the art of negotiation becomes very important, right? So, what is it that you negotiate for, and what is it that a good negotiation letter has? It has four things. One is gratitude, The other thing is transparency. And the third thing is assertive clarity. And the final thing is leaving the door open for future conversations, right? So always express sincere thanks and excitement for the opportunity. Appreciate the interview process, right? Be transparent about the fact that you're interviewing with other companies, but make it clear that this is the offer of your preferred choice, right? Finally, ask what you want to ask for, but make sure it is backed by research, right? It can be industry experience, it can be market research. So back it up with tangible facts, right? And always, whenever you ask for uh, compensation negotiation, provide a range. And finally, leave the door open, right? Always make sure that you're willing to come to an agreeable solution that is win-win for everyone, right? That's most important. Don't try to win it all. Finding a mutually beneficial solution shows a lot of maturity, right? Here is an example of a negotiation email that I kind of wrote some time ago for a client. So basically, they had an offer for $130,000, and we asked for 142,000. And by the end of the negotiation, they had about 155,000. So they provided about 100K in RSUs that was not there previously. So this happens where you have to negotiate. If you negotiate well, I basically included all of these things, right? And you don't even need another offer if you know the art of writing a negotiation email. In this scenario, the person did not even have another offer on hand, and yet uh, she could get what she wanted. So as a consequence, so what I say is know the right approach. Any situation is uh, can be converted into a win situation for yourself, right? And finally, that brings us to the last portion of this conversation. There is a reason it is called job hunt, right? Hunting isn't waiting in one corner for the food to come and fall in your lap, right? You need to go after what you want. So if you're the tiger, you have to hunt for your dear. So thank you for all your time and patient hearing. I will open up this conversation for questions now. And yeah, uh, thank you. Any questions?
Thanks a lot, Amit. This is Arun here. Yeah,
Hi, Arun. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, interesting seminar. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, some great reminders about like how we need to, yeah, up the networking process.
yeah,
Yeah, often it's easy to, to read that and understand it, and it's often a different game to, implement that.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, okay.
I,
So I had some questions like. This is regarding my career itself, like
yeah.
relevant. Maybe it's relevant to the rest of the crowd also.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm looking at a situation where I'm looking for a mid-career switch, which means that I have acquired a certain expertise in a certain field,
mm-hmm,
and I'm considered, let's say 8 years experienced in a certain domain, and now I don't. I see that there is a saturation here, and then
mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean that's the reason. So to be more specific, like yeah, I've been working in semiconductor industry. I've been I've been predominantly working in the validation area, and then I see that there is not a lot of scope for career growth there, and now I'm looking to switch to AI/ML, and
Yeah,
yeah, I'm picking up skills, like I've
yeah,
registered for a course and all that, and
yeah,
so the question is like, how would you approach your new job? Like, I mean, I'll be, I mean, would you market yourself as someone who's experienced? You're not really experienced in that particular domain, and then
Yeah.
what level would you apply to? Like, and there are so many questions, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you can start. I mean, maybe you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of get a sense of your question. If anybody else wants to pitch in, do pitch in. But I'll give a brief idea of what I think might be you're looking for, right? So if you want to switch to a different, if you want to make a career transition into an adjacent field, again, the most important thing is talk to people who are actually already doing what you want to do, right? Go to LinkedIn and say, I'm thinking about a career transition, and I like what you're doing. Let's connect and let's talk, right? Again, send that message out, have a conversation, go with 3 or 4 questions to them, say, okay, what is it that you did? Like, how did you do about it? So if you know how to use LinkedIn, right, we could talk about this more on a private call when we're done with this session. If you know how to use LinkedIn, you can actually look for people who have done exactly what you have done and who are also doing what you want to do, right? If you know how to use the search on LinkedIn, it's phenomenal tool, right? So you can actually look for people who have done what you've done in the past and who are doing what you want to do in the future, right? So find those people and send out a message and talk to them, have a conversation as to what they did right and what they did wrong. Now then go back to the drawing board, figure out the things, right? Like probably you might, if you don't have experience, right, how do you show you can do something? You can do a small course on Coursera, you can do a small course on LinkedIn, you can get a small certification, right? So for example, recently I've been talking to a client who wants to move from biotechnology to project management. So what we do is we speak to experts who have already done that, and what we figured out was that she needed to do at least the CMAP course, right? I think it's a course about project management, CPAM's Certified Associate of Project Management, right? And what we realized is, okay, even before we put money and do something like that, we'll do a simple project management course on LinkedIn, which is free, available free for anyone, right? And learn if this is what we want to do, right? Once you learn that, then go ahead and do that certification. Now you have a better resume, right? The story is, I'm wanting to change from my present career to a new career, but I've already started learning about it. I have a skill, I have a course that I've done, I have a certification that I've done. Now that resume becomes far more appealing because it shows that you're already willing to learn, right? You don't have to portray yourself that you know something already. You just have to portray that you're learning to get there, right? So these are parts of information that you won't have it in your hand beforehand. So you talk to experts who've already done that, right? I don't know if I answered the question. Did that make sense?
Yes, yes, to a certain extent, yes. Yeah, I mean, that's it's a great tip. Like, I didn't know like you could actually filter out people, where who you can talk to, like
Yeah, yeah.
on such a specific basis.
Oh,
So
you can just uh, schedule a conversation with me after this interview, and after this seminar, I'll show you exactly how it's done. Right? It's a phenomenal tool, right? And so until you start using LinkedIn to its potential, you really don't know what all it's capable of. So yeah, LinkedIn is a gold mine for everything. So it's
yeah, yeah. I
something.
mean,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, yeah. Come to realize that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the other thing is like, would you recommend using a LinkedIn premium plan, or did you use one?
Yeah, so I would ideally recommend everybody get a LinkedIn premium plan. At least the first month is free, right? The informational interview course, I believe, is part of LinkedIn Premium, so you would need that LinkedIn Premium. So you could do it in the first month. It's a 50-minute course, and what I realize is uh, you don't really need it absolutely, but if you have it, it's good. You can do a bunch of courses, right? It's not good for very technical people because it doesn't really have a lot of technical courses, but for stuff like project management and customer success and those areas, right? Management areas, there are a lot of courses. So people wanting to make those transition, it's good. But either ways, it gives you some additional flexibility in terms of whom you can write an email to and everything. So it's good. It's good to have it. One thing is, people, if you reach out to me, if somebody reaches out to me at the end of this seminar, I can give out a bunch of free LinkedIn premiums. I have about 5 to 6 free premiums to share. So you'll get 2 months of free LinkedIn Premium. So just reach out to me if you need it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Any?
I mean, I think I'll let other
Yeah,
people ask questions, so I don't want
sure,
to eat up
sure.
the
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? The con.
Amit, this is Supriya. Just
Yeah, Supriya. Yeah,
yeah,
Supriya. Go.
I just wanted to thank you for doing this. It's been, I think, 14 years since I have even, thought of about updating my resume,
Yeah,
in hope of a job hunt. But I do intend to do it at some point. Mainly because I think Arun's was a good example.
yeah,
Something similar. Maybe I don't want to change my, my domain of work.
yeah,
But sometimes if you're stuck in a place for a very long time, you're looking for a change.
yeah,
And for various reasons. So just knowing that there are so many good resources out there today
yeah,
to make that transition seamless is great to know. So really appreciate this session.
yeah. Thank you. Oh, that is a surprise. I did not expect. So
Mhm.
you were planning to change, but yeah, glad to help. Yeah,
No, I
you can
think
reach out.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
can give you a few things why I thought about it. I think COVID changed a lot of things.
yeah.
I really started to appreciate that hybrid or remote work schedule. I felt I performed better, and all
Oh,
this these online teams and WebEx. It really changed the way we are working, and so
yeah,
just, I feel like there are a lot more opportunities out there, which I
yeah.
don't believe I've still explored yet,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I feel there's a possibility, right?
Oh,
But
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, because it's like previously, it's like I have to move out of Knoxville, right? If I want
yeah,
to
yeah,
want to
yeah,
look. Now that's not the case anymore.
yeah,
So that's where my interest tweaked in to see what's out there, because I'm still
yeah,
in a shell
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
place, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The remote work culture or the hybrid work culture has exposed so many job opportunities that we were not aware of. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely good time to look out what's available. And you'll find a lot of surprising things coming your way. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I hope to do a one-on-one session with you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anytime. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I guess Deepa had a question.
Yeah.
Hi, Deepa.
Hello,
Yeah, go
Amit.
ahead.
Thank you
Yeah,
for doing this session.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm having a question, Amit. So, like, this is my first job in
Hmm.
guest service. I'm working in Pilot Flying J,
Hmm.
and it's been 5 years there now.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, if I want to change, if I want to
Hmm.
switch, suppose if I'm searching for a job, so
Hmm.
which are the, what do you think, which are the area? Like, I'm just having experience in guest service. So,
Okay.
rather than guest service, which are the area where I can just, send my resume, and which are the area where I should go and look?
Yeah.
Uh,
So I can. I wonder if Susanna, do you want to handle that question?
So so Deepa, you're in guest service now
yes, yes.
Yeah.
and you're trying to move to,
She wants to know what other opportunities are available for somebody who is in guest services.
Yeah, I'm
oh,
just having like 5 years experience in guest service. So if suppose I want to change my profile, like, not just doing calls and all, if I want to
yeah.
change, so what should I look for now? What will be my second option now if I want to just change or do, like, for my profile?
Well, to me, it's going to come down to skills. Like, do you have a degree, and what is that in? What skills do you have right now
Uh-huh.
that would correlate to another job? And it kind of goes back to what Amit said of finding a job that you would like,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
seeing what skills you have that would apply to that.
Mhm.
Um, I know, I mean, without seeing your resume,
Yeah.
it's a little
Yeah.
hard for me, but I think
True.
it goes back to what Amit said, is finding a job you like,
Yeah.
finding someone that's in that. What skills do you have that are close. I'll
Yeah.
give you this example. I was working with she was really a business analyst one time, and I know that's not the field you're in, but she wasn't called a business analyst. But when I started talking to her, she had all those skills, and she goes, "Oh, I do that." And I said, "Well, it's
Hmm.
not on your resume." And she goes, and I would say this, and she goes, "Oh, I do that." And I said, "Well, then you need to phrase it like they have it on the job description." I said, "Because I
Hmm.
didn't realize that's what you were doing."
Hmm.
They use different terminology at that company. So I don't know if that's helpful, but it's a looking at a job description. What Amit said about looking and reading the job description carefully. I get
Hmm.
so many applications where people don't even have, they haven't read the job description clearly. It's like, okay, I'm looking for a .NET, C Sharp,
Uh-huh.
Angular developer, and all they have is Java. Well, my manager is not going to look at that.
Yeah. So
Does
Okay.
that,
yeah. So I think one thing I would add to what Susanna said is
Hmm.
so if you're in guest services, I think your primary area of skill set is in hospitality, right? So
Communication. Yeah. Yeah.
communication
Hmm.
and it depends on what you're looking for, right? When you want to switch, do you want to work in a place where you're a customer service representative? So if you want to
Hmm.
handle calls, if you want to work and be on the call, then that's an area where you can look into a customer service representative, customer success representative, and if you want to move into an area where you don't want to handle calls and you want to be in a totally different field, maybe retail might be a good place to start, right? Like you
Yeah.
can be a sales associate, you can be a retail a visual merchandiser, right? Like where you end up having a conversation with people and building their confidence into buying what you're selling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So all of those basically adds on, right? So it
Yeah.
depends basically what are your core skills
Hmm.
and what is it that you want to do, right? So we could actually have a one-on-one conversation later on,
Definitely.
specifically, yeah,
Yeah.
specifically to decide what is it that you are looking for. But yeah, that's a good place to start. Yeah. So,
Thank you. Thank you,
yeah.
Suzanne. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Susanna.
Susanna.
I'm happy to connect, Deepa, if on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, just reach out.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
Susanna is a recruiter, and she's a phenomenal person. I
Uh-huh.
probably plan to interview her at some point of time in the future. So we'll hear more about it. But yeah, she's a recruiter and she connects people who are. I think she's mostly in the tech field, but yeah, do connect with her and you can
Sure.
have a
Hmm.
conversation. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, any other questions? Yeah.
So I'm back. So I
Yeah.
have had a few more questions. The one question
Sure.
being like, when you say when you network, like who do you network with? Like your peers or someone? I mean, there are various levels of hierarchy, right? Like, what is
Yeah.
a good place to start?
Good. Yeah. Before I answer that question, I had invited Naren to this conversation to be an expert panelist. Naren, do you want to handle that question?
So if I understand the question correctly, Arun,
Yeah.
you're talking about how do you go about making the career switch and networking with the right people, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I mean, who do you
Okay.
network with? Okay, I say I
So
have I made
yeah.
a yeah. I mean, decided like I want to land a X job in X company, and then so there are like there's some right from engineer. Maybe you have like a director level, right? Like what is like who do I reach out to specifically? That's the question.
Okay. So it depends on which part of this whole journey you're on. What I mean by that is if you're looking for a specific skill set that you want to develop, I don't think talking to a manager, or maybe talking to a manager is okay, but talking to a director or a VP wouldn't help as much because they don't actually do the day-to-day job. So if you're building skill sets, talk to someone who, like Amit said, has gone through the journey that you have, maybe in the recent past, right? I was talking to someone who was looking for a job, and then they asked me about, like, hey, how did you get your job? And I was like, the last time I interviewed was a decade ago, so what I'm going to say is
Yeah.
not going to be very relevant, right? So, similarly with technical skill sets, someone, let's say, if you're becoming an AI ML engineer, um, talking to someone who went to grad school, got a degree in AI and ML, it's great. You get some information, but that doesn't really help you on your journey because you can't. Maybe you're not at a point of time in your life where you can get another master's degree, right? So just finding those people who have gone through that same journey within the last 2 to 3 years, talking to them about the skill set, figuring out how they got their jobs. And once you have that down, then you can start talking to the managers or directors and then start getting a bigger picture about, like, okay, what is this industry about? How do I navigate? What do you look for in a good person on your team?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
then you get to so basically you elevate, or like you kind of zoomed in completely and now you're zooming out. um, but at the same time, if you have access to people who have been in the industry for a while, it's good to take their advice as well. But if you're building a skill set, better to talk to someone who's actually doing the job you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally agree.
just
I just had a few things. Yeah, right. I totally agree with what Naren said. I just want to add one thing, right? When you ask the question, who do I talk to? Talk to everyone, right? When you talk to an engineer who is, so if you want to switch into AI ML, talk to the AI ML engineers first, right? Start connecting with them and talk to them and figure out what they do on a day-to-day basis, right? What their job requires, what is the skill set they require, right? And then, as he said, connect with the managers too, right? Why? Because that's where you start building a relationship with the manager, and he gets to see your resume, right? So you get to know what the manager expects from somebody whom he's hiring, right? What does a manager look for when he's hiring for an AI ML engineer, right? That's where you get that picture. Then speak to the directors, right, to get a much bigger picture, right? Like what is it that the person has done right in his life, to get to where he has, right? Learn about that and then go higher, right? Go to VP. It's great. It's like knowing these people in higher positions of power makes it so much more easier. For everybody serves a different purpose, right? You build a relationship with a vice president, have a conversation that is lively and memorable, and just come back to them a few days later and ask them for an introduction, not even for a referral, just an introduction. They just forward your resume to the right group, you will get an interview call, right? I've seen this happen without fail, almost always. So everybody serves a different purpose. Do it with all of them, right? And do it, go after it, like 100, 200 people, right? There's no way this method fails. Rather than wasting your time applying for that job, this is the easiest way to do it, right? So yeah, everybody has a purpose. Talk to all types of people. Yeah. Did that answer your question? Yeah. Thank you, Susanna.
yes, thanks Naren and Amit for your inputs.
Yeah.
So just I think I just wanted to clarify one thing that probably Naren said. Maybe it's too late to get a master, but something that is something I have to say I disagree with, because today there are boot camps which I have registered personally, like the 11-month boot camp, which takes you through like several, it's a project oriented boot camp, which means that, let's say, you start with your mathematics, and then you do your certain assignments, then you start Python, and then you start submit some projects, and
Yeah.
so you build up like progressively towards a particular role, right? So I mean, that is, I think, something that is changing, like skills are becoming more accessible, like
Yeah.
I mean, on the job skills, like the
Yeah.
mentors, like in these
Yeah.
particular boot camps, they are industry experts.
Yeah.
They do live classes, and then they sort of concentrate on the things that you need to know mainly for the job. Like Python is huge, so you just probably, or they'll just probably focus on Python, that is for AI or ML. So yeah, I mean, so for me, like, I'm approaching this as something I mean, approaching this job hunt as something like where I can already get some skills, like I can
Yeah.
acquire some skills outside, and then I can show like I have a GitHub profile or something. So it's not like I'll be completely thrown out in the open I mean, and then I need to uh, figure it all out. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is something I wanted to clear up. That's
Yeah. 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 I think.
I wasn't implying that you should get
Yeah.
a master's degree. All I was saying is like,
no,
if you
I'm
want
not saying.
to,
I'm just saying like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like since you presented a point of view, it's just
Yeah. Yeah. I
answering to
mean,
that.
yeah, I think he was basically saying he knows that probably you're already a PhD. It's probably difficult for you to go back and get a master's. So if it's not motivational enough to do a master's, but there can be some smaller things you can do, right? So I think that is what he
But
was
I
trying
am
to
going.
say.
I mean, I'm to
Great,
clarify. I'm
great for
just
you.
going.
Great, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, yeah, that's good. It's even more inspiring. Yeah, yeah. All right. I guess that's it. Does anybody have any more questions? Thanks a lot, Naren. Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks. Anybody has any other questions? All right. I guess that's we can call it to a conclusion there. Thanks a lot for attending the session. I guess a bunch of them already dropped off. They had to leave. Thank you. If you have any more questions, Arun, feel free to reach out later on LinkedIn. We'll talk. We'll go through everything that is you're interested in one by one. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Pratima. I couldn't say hi to you earlier. Thank you, Deepa. And thank you, Hari. And thank you, Mona. Naren, thanks a lot for being up early in the morning. It's East Coast 7:30, right? So yeah, thanks for being here and taking those questions. Yeah.
thanks, Amit, for having
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
session.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Naren.
Thank you.
Nice catching
Thank
up
you, Arun. Yeah.
after a really,
Nice
really
catching.
long.
Yeah. True.
Thank
True.
you, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pratima.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.